Hi, everybody. How is everybody going? It's good morning for some of you and good evening for many of you. Definitely good evening for me. I just had to close the curtains because it's very dark outside. But I was just talking to Laurel and, you guys are just all getting up. So I am just seeing questions coming through now. So question, is this going to be the first one of the day? Because I thought they were starting at 8. I do believe, yes, I am the first one, and there is lots more Q&As coming after me throughout the day. So if you click on the schedule place, it will tell you who else is going to be going live for you. Question here. Do you leave your supplies out overnight or do you put them back in the cupboard each day when your family needs the dining room? A very good question. So I am sitting in my craft space here. This is it. It's the dining room table and I have got junk behind me right now because I just didn't have anywhere to put it because we needed the dining room table. So if I'm working and I've got a project that is going to take a couple of days, and sometimes I do have those, especially for work, I do leave it out, and people have got to eat on the breakfast bar. On the island, that is where you're going to eat. Sometimes I will actually leave it out for like a whole week because I have just got lots of videos I need to get done, lots of work I need to get done, and we don't eat at the dining room table full stop. We do have a beautiful outdoor setting area where we can eat during the summer, but we are just heading into autumn now and it's getting really cold, so that will not be an option. So I generally will take the stuff off the table and just put it on this little bar behind me here. So like I've got some of my inks and supplies out, so off the table and onto there, and if people come over, it's back in the cupboard and they have no idea that that is my craft space. So yes. I hope everybody is having gonna have a great day or had a good day here in Australia. I don't know how to make the next question come up. Here you go. What do you do with the cards you make? Okay, I have tubs and tubs of cards that I make, and I do give them away. So birthdays, events, we just all go to the card box. So my son gave me no notice the other day. He was going to a wedding and he came in and he said, I'm going to my friend's wedding. I knew the wedding was coming up. I had forgotten what weekend it was on. And he's like, I need a card, a wedding card. I'm leaving in 30 minutes. Straight to the stash, down to work, grabbed about 3 or 4 different wedding cards for him to choose from. And he goes, I don't care, just choose one. So I chose a pretty one. And he took it to the wedding. So I do have excess, and because I make a lot of cards for work, and I actually donate them to my church, and they actually gift cards out to our church members and other people. We have a nursing home across the road, and they gift the cards out to them as well. So I do donate them. Oh, what inspired me to get organized? So I have to be organized because my craft space is this tiny cupboard in my dining area. If I'm not organized, it is just a mess. I end up with tubs of stuff just on the floor and it just gets out of control. So if I'm not organizing and keeping myself organized, I am just completely out of control with stuff everywhere. So because we work very fast, we've got lots of releases. I release every month. Once I've used that collection, I've made everything I'm going to make with that kit because I have to move on to the next one. That's it. I have to donate it. So my mum gets it or the ladies at church get it. Yes, isn't that a good tip? It also works for all like your white goods and stuff. Get a new dishwasher, get a new fridge, and they put those annoying stickers on there that don't come off. You just get your hairdryer, heat it up a little bit, straight off. Do it all the time. Sometimes I have to get the old extension lead out to be able to get to the place I'm trying to get the label off. But when I've got all of my containers, you just get the hairdryer and heat it up a little bit and they peel straight off, and there's no more of that scraping, soaking, which is what I used to do in the sink. I'm soaking it. I've got like the cloth, like the sponge on there, trying to soak it off. I'm trying to use the eucalyptus oil, but yeah, that is the best tip that I was given and I love it. Yeah, that's true because you've got all the different segments. I actually have a whole bunch of watercolor things as well. So So my video, I've shown you I've just got my space for my paper crafts, but I do love to watercolor as well. So I actually have 2 other tubs full of all my watercolor supplies when I'm just painting watercolors, which I keep in my wardrobe, and I bring them out and into my craft space as well. So I guess it's just trying to keep everything in its own section. So like my watercolor painting stuff goes in one container, all of my paper craft supplies go in another container, or my dyes go in another container. So I think segmenting everything is your key, and that way you can keep on top of your supplies. Otherwise, if you just start putting all your watercolor supply stuff, just throwing it in the cupboard with everything else, you're not going to know what you have, and that is the worst. So when you do feel like when you're going to watercolor, it's all there in the one spot. So keeping it all together in its own little container, I think, is the best tip I can give you on that one. Am I ever tempted to get a larger cabinet of my supplies? Absolutely, I am. In fact, I am going to get a craft room this year. That is my goal, is to get a craft space. So we actually have a spare room, which was my husband's office, and he has not used it all year. He just brings his laptop out to the kitchen table and sits next to me because we want to be together. Otherwise, I'm out here crafting, he's in the office. So we're going to get rid of the bed in the bedroom, and we're going to turn that into a craft space. Now, this is going to be the challenge for me when I actually get my own craft space, is to keep myself contained and not just, oh, I've got more space, so get more stuff and keep more stuff. I will have to stop myself doing that, so that I am just keeping myself organized and just keeping myself in check, and not leaving like bins of stuff on the floor because I can, because no one has to. I don't have to put it away, and making sure that I still clean up after myself. I had a friend who used to work with me, and she could not leave her craft space in a mess and walk away. Now, I am not that person. If I'm finished crafting, I can absolutely walk away and leave it. I wish I was that person who had to pack it up. It could have been midnight, she's finished making a card, and she will clean up before she goes to bed. I'm worried that when I get my own craft space, I am going to be way messier because I don't have to clean up after myself and have that accountability. So I'm going to have to make sure that I don't do that as well. Scrap paper, I organize it by collection. So I have got my containers and my 12 by 12 storage packets where I put it all in there by collection. Now, when I get down to just a few pieces of scrap paper from that collection, I store it by type. So if it was soft, pastel, and pretty and florally, they all go in together. Christmas, special occasions, all going together. So that's how I organize them. It all goes into a 12 by 12 container, whether it's a whole 12 by 12 piece or it's just my little pieces of scrap paper. But don't get hung up on keeping every little piece of scrap paper unless you think you're going to use it. Once you get down to all those little bits, it is time to probably let them go. Do you create cards only or other items you enjoy? I predominantly do card making and scrapbooking because that's what we do at work, and that is my job. So I create now for my job mainly. But when I actually get to create for myself, I do mini albums. I love making mini albums. That is my little treat to myself, to get to make little mini albums. We have a line of new mini album things coming out soon, and I'm so excited because I'm going to actually make some for me. So if I ever actually get to make something for myself that's not work, like you have to make 6 cards today, or you have to do 2 layouts, or you're teaching a class in New Zealand this week, you've got to do this or that, mini albums are my go-to. I love them. Lots of stamps that take lots of room. Depends what sort of stamps they are. If they're your clear kind of type stamps that are on like the acetate backing, put them in some sort of storage pocket so that you can just flick through them. If they're like your wooden stamps, like your old block stamps, I used to have tons of those. They're much harder to store. I literally ended up giving away all of my wooden stamps, and I just kept probably a dozen of my favorite ones. But stamps that are on the clear plastic, I literally put them into a storage container that you can flick through, and that they're all in there together, especially if you got stamps and dies. I would put the stamp and the die in the same little storage pocket, so that way you can have them together, you know they're together, and you can just put them in one of those little bins that you can flick through to find what you want. Uniquely Creative is available in the UK. We do have a few stockers, and I do go over a couple of times a year and do Create and Craft TV. I'm going back over in July. My wooden map is cool, isn't it? We travel a lot. We're very much a travel family, and hence my little UK guy over there and my cue. I can't remember where it was from. It was it's wooden, and you stick it all on the wall like a jigsaw puzzle. Each little piece just goes on the wall, and then you put your little pins in where you've been. But yeah, can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry. If I think of it, I will go put it on our Uniquely Creative Facebook page, and I will tell you. Okay, Maya? Have I retired? No, just barely. So got back for Creativation because that was the most hectic week and a half of my life. We had a 7-day holiday at the end of it, and got home and I got sick. So all last weekend I was so sick, and I have just barely gotten over it this week. And of course I passed it on to my daughter. She is 9, so she is now sick. But full steam ahead now. We've got a plan for Craft Utopia in July. We're heading back to the States, so we're on the plan from that, but it was super fun. Yeah, donate bin is great. So for me, I've always just had outlets because everyone is always knowing what I've done. So I've owned Uniquely Creative, and I've done that for probably the last 7 years. And before that, I had a craft store. I used to own a store until I sold that. So I always had outlets of people asking for stuff. So when my older boys were little, I would donate to their kindies because they would love having all the stuff. Then when my younger daughter was little, again, to her kindy, I used to donate it. Now I have a bunch of ladies that run craft in our local church, and I donate to them. Lots of local church groups will have card making, and they will love having all of your donations. Absolutely love it. Oh, so if I couldn't make cards or scrapbooks, so I've always said when I retire, I'm going to be a quilter. I am going to have like that really expensive sewing machine. I'm going to quilt and I'm going to sew. My only problem is I'm a very, I can't sew to a pattern. I can't cook to a recipe, that sort of person. I can't follow instructions. I'm 100% dyslexic. So instructions to me are a nightmare. Don't give me them. So I'm worried that when I'm quilting and I have to be precise, that's going to suck. But that's it. When I'm an old lady and I get to retire, I'm going to quilt. Always an endeavor. My Summit freebies. So when you sign up for our newsletter, we have got our freebies, which are this one here. So all of the labels that I have used in my craft room, you can download those for free. And if you sign up for the Ultimate Bundle, I have done a scrapbooking lesson. So I chose some of our cut apart sheets, which is ones that you can download for free. And I've made a beautiful scrapbooking layout, and I go through that step by step and make that. It's a whole just a scrapbooking class. So you will be able to grab the downloads for that. You'll be able to get the video for that and watch that. And I also have done some SGV. So if you've got a Cricut and you want to make your labels look a little bit more professional than mine, although I love these, you can cut them out on your Cricut and put the vinyl on there as well. Now, I have a Cricut, but I don't really know how to use it. I get the girls at work to do it for me, so I much prefer download it, laminate it, done. That is the good thing about that. What is one thing you can't do without in your craft room? I think my little caddy, this little guy here, this is my go-to in my craft room because it's got everything in it. And this was just a little cheapy thing I picked up in the beauty section at our local Kmart. And I think it was about $8 because this has got everything in it that I actually use all the time. So every craft room is going to need some sort of go-to organizer thing. So if you've got a permanent craft room where you can have like a gorgeous little something on display that spins around and does amazing things, that would be absolutely great. But I don't. So I've just got my little $10 caddy I got from Kmart. I do know they have similar things over in the US, because when we were there for Creativation, I had to go buy some plastic containers for our booth, and I noticed you did have things like this over here at a fairly reasonable price. I found some in Michael's and Target. Target was really good for this little plastic storage situation. They were really quite reasonably priced too. So something to store all your go-to pieces in. So your scissors, your adhesives, your trimmer, the stuff that you use basically for every project has got to be close at hand. You don't want to have to be getting up, walking around, instead of the other side of the room. You just want to have it right there to get yourself going, because I'm quite a lazy crafter. Once I'm sitting there, if it's not within my reach, if I can't turn around and get it out of this cabinet, or if it's not within my reach, I'm probably not going to use it. So I always have the stuff that I want to use absolutely at hand. I suppose that's a good tip too. If you've got products that you haven't used, you can put them closer to hand, so then you might use them. Were I hooked on paper crafts immediately, or did it take a while? Absolutely. So my whole life I have been paper crafters. I very distinctly remember a birthday gift I was given probably when I was like about 10 years old, so my daughter's age now. My auntie gave it to me because she knew me so well, and it was a box full of paper and glitter and glue, and I just remember it was like the most amazing gift I was ever given, and it's probably one of the only gifts I remember from my childhood. It just had everything in it that I loved. I loved back to school when I was a kid, because you got brand new stationery, new pencils, new notebooks, erasers, all of that stuff was amazing for me. And so I have been a paper addict since I was a little girl, and my dream when I was a little girl was to open my own craft store, and I did that. I opened a store in Adelaide called Paper Flourish, and I ran that store for 10 years. It was my baby, and I sold that when my daughter was born, because surprise, you're nearly 40, you're gonna have another baby. I had how old were they? They were 18 and 21 when she was born, and then all of a sudden I had another baby, and things were hard, so I sold the store and started making kits, and kits led into starting Uniquely Creative. So paper has always been something that I've loved, and what really got me back into it after a while was when we got married. My husband and I went on a cruise for our honeymoon, and on this ship they did quilling, paper quilling. So you know how you've got paper and you're twirling around, and I dragged my brand new husband to that quilling class every single day on that cruise, and he came with me, bless him. So he's been really supportive in my journey. When I left my corporate job and opened a craft store, he was right there by my side. And when I sold the store and said, I want to start making my own products because I couldn't find what I wanted on the market, he also supported me. So yes, I have absolutely been immersed in paper my whole life, and I just love it. Do I prefer clear containers for organizing even if the bins have labels? I do, because I like to see inside what's in my container. Even if like these little guys here, I've put a really big label on there, I can still see what's in there. Like I know this is all of my bling because I can see through it. And so if I can find a clear container and I can just open my cupboard and know that that's where my adhesives are, that's where my bling is, I think that is great. I do like to label things though. I know it's pretty obvious that this is my bling container, but if I say to my daughter, can you please go get me my bling? She can find my bling. If I say to my husband, can you please go get me my mixed media one? That's this little guy here. It's so sad. Clearly, I'm not a mixed media artist. He will bring it to me. So I do like to label things, and if someone's helping me clean up, it goes back there. So yeah, clear containers with labels is my go-to for sure. I would love to, but my husband would kill me. So we do our 12 by 12 storage, and we do our smaller storage to store all of your dies and your stamps and stuff in. But we really have a limited amount of warehouse space. So if I designed any other clear storage options, I think I would be getting divorced. My husband would kill me because he'd have to try to find somewhere to store it all, and that would not be popular in my house. So no. Have I done quilting since the cruise? Absolutely. I loved it. I loved quilling. I quilled so much years ago. I made some beautiful pieces of art. I entered them in our royal show and I won first place, and that was amazing. And we did some quilling stuff with Uniquely Creative a couple of years ago, and I loved doing it. It was so much fun. So anything paper based I love. Basically my rule is if I can't glue it, I don't do it. So if I have to sew it, no thank you. It's got to be glued. Anything that can be glued, I will do. Where do I look for inspiration? That's a really good question. So that's a twofold answer, because I am one of the designers who design our papers for our collection. So I'm looking for inspiration of what is going to be the new thing that I'm going to put in our paper line. And then I'm the person that gets to use that paper line, obviously. So I look in the homewares and linen and things like that for the new what's going to inspire me. So myself and our warehouse manager went over to a big homewares like fair thing last year, and we saw what was all new that was going to be coming out in homewares and linen and stuff like that. And that was a huge inspiration to see where that side of the industry was going. Very much inspires me. I will also inspired by my surrounds. So we've got a collection coming out in May, which has got all these beautiful little pieces of things that I found when I was in Paris. So I was in Paris last year, and I went to these gorgeous flea markets in Paris, and I picked up all these beautiful tickets and boxes and little pieces of paper, and they have all been incorporated into our collection. So I love that. We have got a collection coming out in later in the year, I can't remember what month, which has got inspired by all the graffiti that was in Berlin when we were in Berlin. Just amazing. I love it. So then that's how I get inspired as the designer of the papers. And then what inspires me when I'm using those collections, I think it's easier for me because I was the person that I knew what I had in mind when I was designing the paper. So therefore when I'm creating with it, I'm like, this is how I'm going to use it. And then the DT will do something, or one of you guys will do something and post it on our crafting community. I'm like, that's amazing. I designed this. I had this exact thing in mind, and you guys did all this. And wow, I didn't even see that possibility for that collection. So inspiration comes from me anywhere and everywhere. And of course, travel is a big thing in my life. So travel is very much inspiring for me, and how I create our products, but how I use the products as well. Top 3 favorite crafting tools. I think, like, if I could only have 3 crafting tools, I'm looking at my container here now, for the rest of my life, the first one is going to be a pair of scissors, because you have to have scissors or a trimmer, some sort of scissors or a trimmer, so I can cut things. Glue. I can't glue it. I don't do it. So I've got something to trim with, something to glue with for sure. And it has to be a tool. Other tool that I really like. What tool do I use all the time? I think it's got to be some sort of foam mount, right? I know it's another adhesive, but foam mounts, because I like to create dimension within my crafting. Like if I'm making whatever it's a scrapbooking layout or cards, I 100% want to create dimension and layers and add in texture. So something to help me achieve that. I know it's not really a tool, but adhesives are important to me. I like adhesives, but something to trim with, something to create layers with, I think is what my go-to would be. Yeah, I did. I had one of those little trolleys, you know, those little trolleys you get. I had one of those for a while, and I had it next to my container, and I thought, this will be amazing. I'll just wheel it around to where I am. And I never wheeled it anywhere, and the stuff just got junked in there, and I couldn't really see through it or get to it, and stuff just got at the back, so that didn't really work. I like my storage solution now that with the clear containers, and I can pull them all out. Maybe if I did my clear containers in that, like it was like a 3-tiered trolley thing with wheels. That might work better. Just didn't work for me. I've tried it a couple of different ways and a couple of different times, and the bottom just ended up being a junk drawer, and I couldn't hide it. I think that was my problem, because my space is open to the world. This trolley was there and it was very obvious what it was, and that was fine. And had it been all neat and lovely, it would have been great, but it just ended up as a junk system and it did not work for me. Yeah, there you go. So I like the cart, and the cart, people have amazingly organized carts that look so good, but and then mine just did not work. It did not work for me at all. Oh, where do I store my scrapbook pages and albums? This is a very good question, and I could give you the right answer, but I'm not going to lie and tell you. My scrapbooking pages are not in albums. In fact, we've got a project at work at the moment, and we needed to measure a scrapbooking album, and the girls at work said to me, can you go up to the house and bring a scrapbook album down so we can measure the spine? And I went up to the house because I thought I owned one album. I don't own a single scrapbook album. All of my layouts are in 12 by 12 storage tubs, because I just have so many. Because remember, this is my job. I make scrapbooking layouts for my job. They are all in their kinds. So, for example, all the Pels are in hers, and all the Josh's and Jaden's are in theirs, and they're all great, but they have never made it to an album, and they need to, because I literally have big plastic tubs full of scrapbooking layouts that sit on my mezzanine floor, and that can also be my retirement. So when I do my quilting, I need to put all of my things in my scrapbook album. So do not do what I do. That is not the right answer. I think to put them in albums would be amazing. I just have never had the time. I need to make a scrapbooking album with Uniquely Creative so that I can put all my stuff in albums, I think. Yeah, sorry, not albums for me yet. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I hope I answered some questions and you got to learn a little bit more about me. I have watched some of the other videos and I've learned some tips. And I think the biggest tip that we're all saying to you guys is purge if you can. I know it's really hard to do that, but have your purge pile, yet it be to give to your kids, your grandkids, to donate to your local church or kindy, or to sell. It's okay to sell it. If you've got stamps that are in great condition, sell them. If you're not using them, get rid of them, because that's just going to creep up on you and it will all be done. So thanks for joining me. I hope you guys have a great day if you're over the other side of the world, and good night to everybody over my side of the world. Bye.